If you have ever wondered what river cruising is actually like, not the brochure version, but the real experience, this episode, in fact, this whole month of One Slice at a Time is for you.
I just got back from Amsterdam where I toured multiple river cruise ships, met with the cruise lines, and even saw a brand new ship debut.
So stay put because we're going to break it all down. Welcome back to One Slice at a Time. I'm Stephanie Picosta, a travel advisor who specializes in big multi-generational family trips.
I'm Ryan Joy, also a travel advisor, specializing in large group trips. But something we both know a lot about is river cruising.
Right. And for the entire month of May, we're going to be talking about all things river cruising, like what's it like, who's it for, and whether or not it's actually worth it. Today, we're going to start off with Ryan's recent trip to Amsterdam for the ASTA River Cruise Conference. So, Ryan, let's just start at the very beginning. What was traveling to Amsterdam like for you?
Well, the nice thing is from Orlando, which is where I was flying out from, part of the year they have a direct flight, which is great. So,
Mm.
because Amsterdam is one of the key gateways for like a Rhine River cruise. So if you're doing a river cruise in Europe and it's maybe one of your first ones, there's a good chance you might be flying to Amsterdam. So that was kind of nice. The other thing is, we've talked about this before. I really like to have a private transfer arrival. And that's what I did here. And it was great because I had a pre-cruise stay. And, they just met me once I got through baggage claim and they brought me straight to the hotel. It was morning, right? Because when you go to Europe,
Mhm.
you usually take an overnight flight.
Overnight flight.
So it was nice. I got straight to the hotel and my room was actually ready. So that was great.
That's nice. Where did you stay for the conference then or the night before? Where did you stay the night before?
Yeah, that's right. Because during the conference, we stay on the river cruise ships, but
Mhm.
I got there a day early because I have found that I just am so jet lagged from that
Yeah.
flight.
We're
So
too old for
I
that now.
I wanted a hotel day prior to
Mm.
the conference. And when I say a hotel day, I wanted to go to the hotel and not have to leave the
Sleep.
hotel. So I
Exactly.
stayed at the Renaissance, which is
Mhm.
part of the Marriott family. Had
Right.
everything. It was a nice hotel, very comfortable, and then it had, restaurants attached and all that stuff. So I really didn't need to leave for that entire day, and it was great.
So from the hotel, because a lot of river cruise clients are flying in the day before, how did those transfers and things work the next day to actually then get you onto the river cruise ship that you stayed on for the conference?
Yeah, the River Cruise terminal is right in like the center of Amsterdam. So you get off your River Cruise ship and you can like walk right into the city. So that's perfect.
Mhm.
And at that point, I just was able to Uber straight from my hotel
Wow.
right to the cruise terminal. So it was perfect. And by the way, Amsterdam, you can also like do an ocean cruise out of Amsterdam. So the ocean cruise terminal is also right there. So
Ah,
either way.
good to know.
Mhm.
Do you feel like, did you spend any time actually in Amsterdam or did you just stay back at the hotel?
I spent a little bit of time in Amsterdam because I mean, pre-conference,
Hmm.
I was pretty much just
No.
there, just at the hotel.
Hmm.
During the conference, like right before, kind of sort of between the conference and between the cruise I took afterwards, I had an excursion that took me through different parts of
Hmm.
Amsterdam, and I got to see the canals, and the
Hmm.
tour guides explained how the canals worked and how they, the whole city of Amsterdam is reclaimed land, pretty much. Like, they
Wow.
put those canals in and everything's below sea level, so everything is reclaimed. So, getting that context, the whole city is built on top of water. And so, when you're looking at
Hmm.
the buildings and things, it's really kind of a fascinating place, which is probably why so many river cruises start in Amsterdam because there's a lot to do
Right.
there. And telling you right now, they have figured snacks out. Like, they have I I don't care about this pickled herring stuff. Like, so that's there
Ugh,
for somebody. That's not there for me.
not for
But
us.
but they've got like, the stroop waffles, little mini
Mhm.
pancakes that they, put powdered sugar or like Nutella on, to die for. So they really snack well there.
So besides the snacks, say one of our clients has a couple days or a day or, in Amsterdam prior to a cruise. What would you say they absolutely cannot miss?
Well, for one thing, I mean, there's just the okay, so there's some museums that I didn't go to that I know are
Mhm.
really high on most people's lists. I'm like a one museum per trip kind of person, so I didn't do that. Absolutely, you do need to do those snacks. It would be nice if you had at some point during your stay some sort of tour with a local guide that can kind of just
Mhm.
explain things to you. Like, there is a there's like every city, there's a shopping district and there's restaurants and there's this and that. But in Amsterdam specifically, to be able to see like to get that context about how the city is built on top of water from a local, I think it's really helpful. And then the thing that like everybody does when they go to Amsterdam is take a canal cruise. So
Mhm.
um and there's several companies that'll do it. And if you do have a guide, you can ask them like to point out
Right.
which one
Who do they
they think you
recommend?
should go to.
Sure.
Yeah.
And guys, a lot of times when we're working with river cruise companies, you'll find that they offer post cruise packages that will include things like this, a stay at a great hotel and your tour. So that's always something to ask us about as well.
And one thing you could look for in an itinerary is an overnight in Amsterdam, because
Mhm.
that's common as well, where the river cruise ship at the end, say if you're coming up from Basel, will get
Right.
into Amsterdam at say like 2 o'clock the day
Yeah.
before disembarkation. So then you have like that whole afternoon and
A whole
evening
day.
in
Hmm.
Amsterdam, or the day that you board the ship, perhaps they don't leave Amsterdam until
Right.
the next morning.
So both you and I, we've been on river cruises before. In fact, we both went to the ASTA River Cruise Conference Expo last year in Vienna. But what were some of the things that you learned this trip that you didn't know before, or maybe some things that you kind of had a strong opinion about and now something changed your mind?
You know, there are so many different river cruise companies, and Stephanie, you know this from our experience last
Amen.
year.
Yes.
And each one of them has sort of their own flavor.
Yeah.
But as I get more and more experienced with river cruising, I'm finding out that what you see on the surface may not
Mhm.
necessarily be the whole story. For example, Amadeus River Cruise is a brand that
Mhm.
you may never have heard of before, and they actually come in usually quite a bit cheaper than everybody else. The
Right.
reason is they don't include much, right? A
Right.
drink package, you don't get the excursions. You can add
Mhm.
all that stuff up. But what's interesting is I kind of got a different viewpoint from talking to different travel advisors and talking to
Mhm.
Amadeus themselves of like, well, it is the lower cost option. It's actually great
Right.
for experienced river cruisers. Like if you've been on this
Mhm.
itinerary before, perhaps you don't want to go on the same excursions. You're going to build something
Right.
yourself. So
Right.
you pay for the lower cost cruise and then
But
build your
then
own excursions in port.
yeah, and that's a great point. Many of the river cruise companies, they're going to include several different things. Some things will be included on one that aren't included in the other. So it's always good to have a travel advisor that's been to this Astor River cruise. And we've seen all these cruise ships, but not only have we toured the cruise ships, we have learned about each one of these brands and what's included for those river cruises and what's not, and what best fits each traveler. So, let's talk more about these multiple ships because when Ryan says multiple ships, there are so many ships in port. In fact, for me, it got a little overwhelming at my first
Yeah.
Asta cruise. But what differences stood out among the ships that you think really mattered for a client?
Well, a lot of it comes down to, I mean, there is an appearance difference on a lot of ships.
Mhm.
Like
The
Viking,
difference between like Exactly. Viking and Uniworld guys, like
Right.
stark contrast. They are some huge difference.
Uniworld is like a palace.
Yes.
And when I say that, I mean
Floating palace.
it is very opulent and very the decor
Hmm.
is over the top like a
Yes.
palace. And that's the main rooms and everything on the ship
Hmm.
are gonna feel that way. Whereas Viking is very much, as you can tell from the name, it's
Right.
Nordic. So it's
Yes.
it's not that it
Very
is
clean
not
lines,
right
very
elegant, but
minimalistic. Right.
not
In a different
elegant in
way.
the way that like Uniworld is. Now those are two like
Hmm.
extremes. In
Right.
between, you have like AmaWaterways, which is very like
Right.
stylish and
But
whatnot.
comfortable.
And
Yes.
then Uniworld
Hmm.
and Scenic, I think, are competitors. And where Uniworld is like this opulent experience,
Right.
Scenic is still at that same luxury level, but it's sleek. So the
Yes.
more and more and more I can understand the difference and be able to explain that to
Hmm.
clients.
Yeah, that's a good point. But let's talk about something now that happened for you at this particular ASTA River Cruise conference. Something special happened that you
Oh
got
yeah.
to experience. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I think you're referring to the AmaWaterways dedication of the Ama Sophia.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was really cool because, one of the ASTA conference organizers, Sarah Little, was named the godmother of the Ama Sophia. And
Hmm.
so they had a whole, ceremony there at the conference. They smashed the champagne bottle on the side of the ship,
Yes.
whole celebration at night. AmaWaterways had this amazing drone show that they kind of did for everybody. So it was just a really cool experience to see that. Whenever you can be on a ship with a godmother, or
Hmm.
just see all that, there's so much pride from these companies when it comes to their
Right.
ships. And
These are their
so
babies for real.
yeah, it's
They're
really
so
special
proud of
for
them.
us to see that.
So let's go back to the ships because room layouts make a huge difference in these river cruise ships. We have touched on it before when we've talked about river cruising, but the layout and size, well, let's put it this way. The size of these cabins are much smaller than what you would see like on an ocean cruise for the most part, but the layout makes a huge difference. So, after being on several different ship tours, what stood out to you about the different actual layouts of the staterooms?
So first of all, like it was pointed out to me on Viking that if I stood
Mhm.
in the stairway, which is the dead center of the ship, the stairs that
Mhm.
go in the lobby, and I look down the hall, it's very obvious to see that the hallway itself is not centered on the ship.
Okay.
And that's because Viking can have French balconies on one side and walkout
Ah,
balconies on the other because they gave the
okay.
extra space, and that's why
To
the
the
hallway is
walkout
off center.
balconies.
So it's fascinating when you look at these different layouts. There's essentially 3 to 4 layouts that you're going to see
Right.
across
There's
river
only so
ships.
many ways you can put a bed
Yeah.
in these
I mean,
rooms. It's really
and
the
and
biggest part of
also
this, but
like you have, and a lot of it comes down to your window. So you have like the duck view
mhm,
window where you're sleeping below the water line, but you can peek up. You
right.
have a window that's right at the water line.
And see the ducks, guys. That's duck
Yes.
view.
Yeah. You have a French balcony, which means that you can open the door and kind of stand
Mhm.
there, but you can't walk out. Then you
Right.
have a regular balcony, which means you can
Mhm.
walk out on it. And then some ships, you get rooms that have both a French
Mhm.
and a regular walkout balcony. And then you have some rooms that don't have a traditional balcony at all, but they have those like infinite veranda situations where the whole
Mhm.
window comes down and
Slides
then
out.
your whole
Mhm.
room becomes a balcony. So you have different
Right.
options when it comes to that. And different ships and different lines offer different
Mhm.
things.
Right. Right.
The other thing I would say,
That's
and
right.
like there's one cruise line in particular where I can look at it and I say, okay, well, this is the standard balcony room. and I
Mhm.
think it's great for couples. But
Right.
if the bed had to be split, just the way the room was configured, it really wouldn't work for two single people. So I would say you'd have to
Right.
get a different room. There is a room for you on that ship, but it's not that one. So having
Right.
those little anecdotes, I think helps a lot.
Mhm. Yep, I
And then you
agree.
have everything from like fancy showers to not to plain showers that you can barely
Right.
fit in to enormous ones. Like there's a whole variation in
Mhm.
that kind of thing.
And guys, it's not just about the square footage of the room. That does make a difference, but it's where the bed's at in this room. Is there also a table in this room? How much room does the French balcony or the balcony take up? So, and how much room does the bathroom take up? Is it spacious enough? So, there's a lot of little idiosyncrasies across how people or cruise brands have taken almost the exact same ship minus a few that are bigger, but they've taken almost the exact same ship and cut it up different ways to
Yeah.
make the spaces a little bit different.
Yep.
So, talking about how they make the spaces feel a little bit different, how would you describe like the overall feel aboard a river cruise? Like on these ships, when you step onto these river cruise ships, what's the overall like feel that you get from them?
In general, the vibe is chill, right? It's like
Yeah,
it's not as hectic as what you feel on a
right.
lot of vacations. It's not like walking into a hotel lobby where there's people going everywhere.
Hmm.
It's loud. You
Yeah.
have all that like ambient noise. It is a
Hmm.
bit chill. There is some ambient noise, but like
Hmm.
it's just not crazy like it is in so many
Right.
other public spaces where there's 4,000 people. You can walk on in like
Right.
5 minutes and you don't have the huge lines. It's great in that regard. I will say this about like the feeling of being on a river cruise
Mm-hmm.
because it has like this chill atmosphere. You Some people might think that spend a week on this thing, you might get really bored. Well, I can tell you that the schedule on my post cruise was kind of
Hmm.
relaxed. There wasn't a lot going on, but for some reason I was busy from about 7 a.m. to midnight every day. So I don't know, like I was never running to the next thing, but I always had something that I was doing or
There's always
someplace I
something
was
to do.
going.
Hmm.
And, if there was a free moment, I was back in my room ordering a pizza,
Hmm.
room
Right.
service. So,
I know for me, the river cruise ships, it just feels like this floating boutique hotel. And while each one of them is decorated differently or set up a little bit differently, and we'll help you pick the one that fits what you want to do and your vibe the best. But it just feels almost like a bed and breakfast. Floating boutique hotel is just the way to describe it. If you've been to a smaller hotel chain or a smaller hotel and the owner greets you at the door and shows you to your room and brings you hot coffee in the morning, this is just the level of service and like the overall vibe, I think, on the river cruise ships.
yeah. And when you think about the where you're going, a lot of
Mhm.
people when they travel, they travel to very coastal areas. They don't go through the countries. They
Right.
fly into a big city, maybe they tour out a little bit if there's something nearby
Sure.
within an hour or
Very
two.
interesting. Yep.
But with a river cruise, you're probably going to go into a major city like Vienna or Budapest or
Mhm.
Amsterdam. But then you're going to take that cruise and you're going to go down the river. Sometimes you'll go
Mhm.
through industrial places. You'll
Sure.
look up and there's a massive castle right before you. So, like,
Yeah.
you actually get to go through the country, not just
Hmm.
to the country, if that makes sense.
Right. That does make sense. That does.
Yeah.
And guys, let's take a quick break here because this is exactly the kind of trips that we help our clients plan every single day.
If you're listening to this and thinking this sounds amazing, but I have no idea where to
Hmm.
start, that is where we come in.
That's right. We can help you figure out which river cruise line fits you best, which itinerary checks all the boxes.
I'll make the whole trip from flights to pre and post stays completely seamless.
So if you're even thinking about doing a river cruise, reach out to us, bookings at oneslicepod.com, and we will help you build the right trip from the very start. Right now, though, it's time for Ryan's crusty review.
As mentioned, I stayed at the Renaissance in Amsterdam.
Mhm.
And also, as mentioned, it had a restaurant attached. And I did my research. That
Of
restaurant
course you
was going to
did.
have pizza. So the name of the restaurant was Janine's. And it was the kind of place you go in and first of all, in the morning, it's a full-on bakery.
Mhm.
They know something about bread and dough. So you got that going for you. They've got the great big oven in the center, right? With the ceramic
Mhm.
tiles around it and stuff. So it's great. Inside the oven, it rotates the little
Mhm.
stone so they can cook more evenly throughout the heat. It's amazing. So I sat down, ordered a margarita pizza. The lady brings it to me, and it's not cut or anything. She plops it down in front of me, hands me a pair of scissors, and says, "Bon appetit," or whatever they say in the Netherlands.
A pair
So
of scissors.
yeah, yeah, and like it's not a foreign concept, right? Like I've,
No, I cut pizza with scissors.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a thing, but it's not
That's not a
usually a thing at a
restaurant.
restaurant. so, so that was kind of a unique situation where they gave me the scissors. Like, if I was splitting that pizza with somebody, it's a little weird because you can't, you know, I don't know if it's a
Let
family
me
member,
just
fine, but
jump in here. But if you're
okay,
splitting that pizza with somebody, Ryan is getting like it will not be cut down the middle. Like if you're half and
come
halving
on,
this,
I
Ryan's
can.
gonna get a smooth 65% out of this pizza. Just enough to make it, almost the middle. Make it look like an accident.
I don't know what you're trying to say about me, but fine. Anyway, the pizza
Uh,
was so good that I will definitely, when going back to Amsterdam, stay at this hotel. Like that's how good the pizza
wow.
was. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Probably a 7 on the 7 out of 8
Wow.
pizza scale.
7 out of 8 at a
Yeah.
hotel pizza joint that gave you scissors.
I mean, I
I
don't know
mean, I
what to
guess
say except
so.
I think that the pizza is better in Europe because I don't know if it's ingredients, I
Mhm.
don't know if it's
It's
care, I don't,
ingredients.
I, it's
I
they do
100%
it
think it's
well.
ingredients. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So let's flip the script just a little bit. I'm going to pretend like I am a client and I'm going to ask Ryan some hard hitting questions about river cruising in general and see what he really learned at this ASTA River Cruise conference. So, Ryan, I'm a first time river cruise client. I want you to tell me, who is this actually for? Or what would make you say this is not for you?
Glad you spun it that way because a lot of people assume that river cruising is for the geriatric, the really
Right.
old, the octogenarians of your family. And I'm going to tell you that,
Both
like,
Ryan and I would get on river cruises right now, today. If you said, hey, Steph, hey, Ryan, come on this river cruise, Ryan and I are there and we are in our 40s. So please do not
that's right.
think this is for geriatric older people.
In fact, really, it's not for them at all because the
Right.
ships, while they do have elevators to an extent, they are not accessible.
Right.
You can't get to the top deck without doing a flight of stairs. That's just
That's
the
right.
case. So
Mhm.
who is it not for? It's not for them.
Right.
I think river cruising is for the curious, for the
Mhm.
well-traveled, people that have done a lot of the standard stuff already that are looking for something different, but something very, like I said before, like it's relaxed, but
Mhm.
busy too at the same time. Like
Right.
you have downtime, but
Mhm.
you still have a full
I would
day.
definitely,
So
if you want to see places in Europe and you don't want to drive yourself or move
yeah,
hotels every day, river cruising is the way to go. It is so easy and relaxed, but just so simple. So
it
simple.
is it is a challenge for families.
Mhm.
And I say it that way
Yes.
because it's it's not that it's not for families. There is not going to be programming for children. Like
No.
they're not catering to kids. And
No.
also, most of the time, the rooms are double occupancy,
Right. And
really
there's not
triples.
connecting rooms. There's not
Yeah,
really connecting rooms either. So,
right. AmaWaterways has some connecting rooms because
mhm,
they have the
but
program
few.
with Adventures at by Disney. But
But
as
yeah.
from that, there really isn't.
Right.
That's something to keep in mind. It's not that your well-traveled child that can entertain themselves or you can
Right.
entertain
Or is
won't have a good time, but it's
interested
just not.
in the things you're doing.
Yeah,
So, who's it for? Everybody except maybe older people or some people with mobility issues
right.
and families with little kids. Probably not the best choice.
That's right.
So, beyond that, people 80 and above should be the only ones on river cruising. What is the other biggest misconception you think people have about river cruising? Because I think that one's number one, right? They think that this is
Yes.
for grandma's alumni group.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what do you think else it is?
I think there might be a viewpoint that there's not enough like exploration by yourself, I guess.
I get
Yeah, because like I was saying before, there's the one cruise line doesn't even
mhm,
include excursions.
right.
They
That's a
have them,
pick
you
and
can
choose
buy
your own
them.
adventure there.
But like you
And
can
I feel like
opt
all the
out
river
of all
cruise
that stuff.
lines, exactly. Exactly. You could opt out on anything, get your own private guide to go see what you wanted to for the day. This is just like ocean cruising in the fact where you're in dock and then you have a time when you're leaving. And as long as
Right.
you make it back by the time that this river cruise ship is leaving port again, then you're golden. Do whatever you want all day long. Take some time for yourself or do a tour in the morning and then take some time in the afternoon, which is what I found we did. I mean, we spent a whole day in Lens, didn't go on any excursions at all and had a great day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I think you're right. I think people think, "Oh, this is so the itinerary is so built for you that there's no chance for me to go out and experience things on my
Yeah.
own."
And I just got back from a 7-day cruise where I was solo traveling.
Mhm.
And I will
Yeah.
tell you, like I went into it feeling like I was going to be bored. Twice.
Mhm.
And I was not.
Right.
Right. And so like even I who have spent a lot of time working on river cruises, like I thought I was going to be bored and I was just wrong. So
Right. I
yeah.
work with solo female travelers. River cruising is a great way to see Europe for a solo female traveler. There are not 1,000, 3,000 people on these ships. There's like 150 max.
Yeah.
Everybody gets to know one another. You won't feel like you're alone, but people provide you some privacy. You know, it's not like there's somebody always in your face. Yeah, I think this is great for solo travelers, especially solo female travelers that maybe want to see Europe, don't feel safe like going out on their own.
Right. Conversation will come naturally, not forced. Like you'll
Hmm.
just sit down in the lounge and you'll want to ask somebody what they did today. And it'll
Right.
happen to you. And then if you don't, you just go back to your room, which is well appointed and it's the right cruise ship and
Sure. So,
yeah.
Ryan, let's walk through just a typical day, start to
Yeah.
finish. You said you were busy from 7 a.m. until midnight.
Yeah.
You had things to do. So, tell us what that day looked like for you.
I would do an excursion each day,
Mhm.
and those would typically leave around 8 or 8:30, maybe 9
Okay.
o'clock. But that's why I'm saying 7 a.m. is the start because you got to get up, you got to
Right.
shower, you got to get to
Breakfast,
breakfast,
coffee.
and then be ready to go out on your excursion at like,
Hmm.
between those are usually half a day, maybe 4 hours. Sometimes they can be short,
Hmm.
but usually about 4 hours, we'll say. So you're getting back in time for lunch, sometimes
Hmm.
late lunch, whatever. A lot of times after that, you'll still be in dock, so you can go out, back out if you want, or they will bring on some sort of demonstration from the community or some food experience, something like that will be
Hmm.
brought onto the ship, and they'll be doing something there for say an hour or so like that. So then you have your afternoon, it kind of rolls into happy hour, and then you go to dinner, and then in the evening after dinner, there's always going to be something. It depends on the line.
Yes.
So for instance, Viking, their entertainment on Viking is a piano player.
Hmm.
Airlines, you might have a two-piece band that is playing or something. You
Hmm.
might have an entertainment director that's doing some sort of music or trivia or something like that.
Right.
So you have it really depends on the ship, but that's kind of your day,
Hmm.
and then the bar closes at midnight, and so you go back to your room at that time. Normally the bars are done at midnight. They don't
Oh yeah.
usually stay up later or
So
keep going after that.
no. So that's a typical day on a river cruise. How do you think that this compares to a typical ocean cruise experience?
In some cases it's very similar. Like you wake up and you
Hmm.
do your breakfast thing, get off the ship, do your excursion, come back, and you've got a whole day. The big difference though, I think, is on an ocean ship, you're like toying with, am I going to go to the casino? Am I going to go to that big Broadway style
Hmm.
show? Am I going to go, do one of the 28 different things? There's something happening at the pool, all that.
Hmm.
Not the case. Usually it's more streamlined
Right.
on a river cruise where you have maybe
Hmm.
one or two things that happen on the ship as far as entertainment
That
or
might
programming.
overlap, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think that another thing that people don't realize the experiences that you can have in port. So, ocean cruise experiences, you're going to have like the sea days. Most of them are going to have at least one sea day where you're just on the boat floating around. And you'll see in your river cruise itineraries, every single day, pretty much so, is a port day, minus a few itineraries. Like you're going to be in port for most of your cruise.
Yeah. And sometimes you have two ports in one day.
What's included on river cruises that people don't realize is included?
Well, it's totally dependent on line, but
Okay.
sometimes they can be completely all included from all your
Right.
dinners and drinks, your gratuities,
Drinks.
every single
Riviera
thing.
pops to mind.
Emerald and Scenic are 100% pretty
Also
much.
all inclusive.
Um,
Yep.
and then other times, like Viking and AmaWaterways actually both have drinks during certain times,
Right.
and then at other times, they have a drink package or something that you could buy, or you could pay for one off.
Right. Yep.
But the excursions are there's almost all the lines
At
are
least
including
one. At
including
least one
yeah,
excursion each day. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
yep.
So if somebody is talking and they're like, I really want to go to Europe, and they're planning on maybe deciding between doing it on their own, building their own itinerary, or doing a river cruise, how would you help them decide, or how should they think about that?
Well, for me, it's always like, what's the most important thing that you want to do?
Hmm.
If they really want time to explore on their own, they should, and they want
Right.
some overnights in certain cities and things like that. They probably are going to have to do it on their own,
Sure.
and they want everything to be included and still see this great,
Hmm.
see Germany and Netherlands,
Hmm.
Austria. A river is the better option.
Yeah, I agree. I think that one of the questions I like to ask my clients is if there's only one picture that you could take on this whole trip, what would it be? And so if we're deciding between a river cruise or planning it on our own, is this included in the river cruise?
Yeah.
Are these people that are pretty well traveled and won't have a problem changing hotels, driving themselves, that sort of thing? I think I would steer first time European travelers away from doing everything on their own. But it just depends on which river cruise itinerary most closely fits what they're wanting to get out of the trip. So,
Yeah, I agree. A lot of times, if I'm going to go to Europe and I'm doing it on my own, I do not want to be moving my stuff around every other day.
right. Yeah.
I do kind of a hub and spoke approach where like
Hmm.
I might go into say Rome and I'll take a day trip out to Pompeii or the Amalfi Coast.
Right.
Now some other people doesn't bother. They'll do, they'll just move hotels.
A couple days. Yeah.
Yeah. But for me,
Yep.
I think it's annoying as all get out.
I didn't get to go this year, but I went last year in Vienna. And how do you feel like being on these river cruise ships and getting to have a taste of each brand of river cruising that's there? How do you think that that changes how we guide our clients?
Oh, listen, if I didn't go to this conference, then there'd be only one name in all of river cruising, and it'd be
Right.
Viking. There's there's all these other companies that are operating and they're
Hmm.
doing unique things that are going to be really
Yeah.
interesting to different people. Also, man, if I didn't go to the River Cruise Expo, I wouldn't know that there's river cruises in Southeast Asia, on the Mekong, that there's river cruises in India and in Colombia and the Nile and the Chobe. You can see the world through a river cruise, and I don't think
Mhm.
most people realize that.
After we've seen all these different cruise lines side by side, you walk from one to the other, to the other, to the other, literally, guys. But how important is it to match that right traveler to that right cruise line?
I get questions like this from clients all the time, and I'm like, there is nothing worse than you coming back and telling me you had a bad time. So it
Yeah.
is incredibly important to understand the
Mhm.
vibe and the experience that you're somebody's going to
Mhm.
have on the ship, and then match that to their personality, because otherwise we're just sending them on whatever we know, and that isn't always the right thing.
Yeah, that can be definitely a pitfall there, sending the right person on the right cruise line, the right river cruise brand, I think really can make or break the whole trip. If you're expecting something and then you arrive and the lobby, first off, is not, you're like, oh, wait a minute, what in the world? Or, you go out to your balcony and there's plastic chairs. I shouldn't put that in there.
Expectations, yeah, expectations
But
are important.
expectations have to meet reality, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
So I think that's, and not only that, it's what each brand and line includes with their river cruise.
yep,
So if somebody is expecting this to be an all-inclusive one and done price, and they get
right.
on the cruise and there's certain things that they have to pay for, I think that can really start,
Yeah.
to irritate.
Listen, they're going to
So,
listen to an episode that we do in 2 weeks. Oh, I
uh-huh.
had a butler bringing me pizza every night. If they get on the
And
wrong
they're
ship,
sold.
that's not going to happen. That only happens, I think, on one ship that I can think of.
So last question here, Ryan. If someone came to you today and said, I think I want to try river cruising, what is the first thing you would ask them to make sure that they're ready for this type of vacation?
Where do you want to go? Is the first question.
Okay.
I think where you're trying to lead me, though, but this may be a different place. So,
No,
you
that's
know,
where do you want to go? Where is it? Why are you wanting to do river cruises? What interests you in river
yeah,
cruising?
yeah, you have
So
to turn around all those
that's it.
questions to figure out what motivated them to even think about it, because
Hmm.
because you need to understand that before we can start saying, okay, well,
Right.
what style traveler are you? What are your expectations? And then,
Yes.
it takes a lot of questions to do the matching
Hmm.
properly.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, Pizza Pals, this is just the beginning. We are spending the entire month of May talking about river cruising. We're breaking down different cruise lines, destinations, what it costs, what to expect, and how to know if it's right for you. I spent a bunch of time on a bunch of different lines.
Mhm.
I spent a whole week just working on one line to get to know them. So
Mhm.
we're going to be talking about all that in the month of May.
So if this is even remotely on your radar, make sure you are following along.
And if you're ready to start planning, we're here to help. Just reach out to bookings at oneslicepod.com.
Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you don't miss an episode this month.
Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at extracheese.fun to get even more pizza puns, special deals, and travel stories from us.
Hey, Ryan, before we go, I'm pretty sure you're not going to have a butler bringing you pizza tonight, but what are you going to have for dinner?
Well, I did buy a new pair of scissors, so it's time to christen them.
All right, have a great week, Pizza Pals, and remember, and keep traveling the world.
One slice at a time. Bye.
Bye.